Hello everyone, Hidris here. Today we'll continue our series on the Maven Pizza Challenge, and in the last video we again advanced in our visualization, writing of DAX, and again this is another video just to continue from where we stopped. So today basically what we'll be doing will be to format our our visuals, the one we have already. Our canvas is messed up, and then we just need to add some formatting and then try to start arranging. Okay, but before that I just want us to add one more measure, or a couple of more measures. They are very simple to add, so I'm just going to tell you. So I thought that since we have the total order, that's the whole here, it would be nice to see how much on average how much orders we had in a month. That's like average order per month, average order per quarter, and then average order per day. And the same thing can be done for revenue as well, right? So I think we can do that. So let's just start with the quarter. So since we know the number of quarter, of course, is going to be 4, we can do this knowing the numbers, right? We know there are 4 quarters, so we can just say the total order divided by 4. Okay, but I don't want us to do that because it's hard-coded number. Let's assume, for instance, a year. I know this is unimaginable, and you might think it's not possible, but a year comes and a whole quarter we were not able to sell. Maybe there's a construction going on in the place, and then this model has to be used. Then do you have to go back and then change it? No, it's not ideal. So instead of just add coding numbers, I prefer to like have a calculation that's going to populate them and it's going to be dynamic. So what I mean is this. So I'm just going to create a new measure for the average order. Okay, let me just name it order per quarter. Now equals the total order divided by, so instead of saying just 4, which is the number of quarters we have, I'm just going to say count distinct. So let it just count distinct count of the quarter. So you can say name of quarter or quarter, anyone works. So once I do that, so in a year where we don't have 4 quarters active, it's still going to come up as 3 because it will only find 3 quarters in the record. Okay, so now we have the order per quarter. So if I bring it in now as a number, we can see that the order per quarter is 5.34k, right? Makes sense. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing for month, right? So I'm just going to copy this if you want this, then I'm just going to like new measure, and then I'm going to paste this, and then instead of order per quarter, I'm going to be order per month, and then here is going to be month, right? Not month name, right? Or month, anyone is fine. It's still going to get 12 distinct. So if I bring that in, so orders per month now is 1.78k. Now for the last one, let me now show you why I think we needed to do it this way. Now if I check the days, of course if I needed to add code for days, you would expect I say something like the total number of orders divided by 365, right? Since we have 365 days, so the question is, what about a leap year? We would have 365, or do we even open on holidays? That's the question. So let's investigate that, so you're gonna see what I mean. So if we check the day, I'm just gonna bring the day here, or the date, I'm just gonna bring the date here. So these are the dates from our orders table that we sold something, and then I'm just going to do distinct count of the date. So once I do distinct count of the date, you can see that we have just 358 days instead of not 365, not 366. So 358. This is something maybe we also need to add to our analysis. Like, okay, we were able to sell for 358. If possible, we can even find out the days that we did not sell, and maybe there's a reason why. Maybe there's an holiday or whatever it is. But we might not go into that. But again, I'm just trying to come up with things that you found out something. Everyone would expect it to be 365, but it's actually not 365, and then you ask the why question, and then you try to answer that. So just to let you know why we had to use this method instead of hard coding. Okay, so I hope it becomes clearer now why we needed to do that. So I'm just going to do the same thing for order per day. So it's going to be distinct count of the date. So we can just distinct count the date. So that will give us 358 in the background, right? So I'm just going to bring in this order per day and then a value order per day. Okay, so makes sense, right? So we can see that this is the order per day. So this is where what I wanted us to calculate, but we just need to add that of revenue as well. Just exactly the same thing, just we'll be changing the order to revenue, that's all. So I'm just going to create a new measure, revenue per quarter. It's going to be total revenue. Okay, so just do that. I will just pause the video, try to do it, and then I'll come back. Okay guys, so after completing that by yourself, you should have something like this on the revenue. Here are the measures we created: revenue per day, here it is, the formula, and then for revenue per month as well, here is the formula, and then the last one, revenue per quarter, here is the formula. So you should be getting something like this after creating. The next thing we're going to do now is to format our visuals that we have here. Actually, I recorded a video before, but I think it got missing, and I'm having to do this all over. So I'm just going to be very fast with this. So we'll start with this text visuals. I'm going to show you how I'm going to format these, probably just one or two of them, and then I expect that you can do the rest all by yourself. Okay, so for this one, this is not the ideal way. I mean, this is not like the perfect method. This is just the way I would be visualizing this particular report. So for this here, I can come over here to the visualization, format your visual pane, and then come over to the value. I can try to reduce the size of the font. I think it's a bit big, so I can reduce it to say 30. I think that's okay for now. And then you would find this label here. That is actually the call out label, category label. That is actually the category label. I can take that off. I don't really need it. And then I go back to the general, and then on my title, I can turn this on. If I turn this title on, I can also format. So I can like change the text to say 12, and then the order can be like total order as you have here. And then I can change the text to white and then the background black, and then I can try to like centralize it, so it's gonna look like this. So this is like the way I want it anyway, so it may be different for another person. Okay, and so one more thing, I think I can add like a visual border here, like let me show you. So if I click on this, I come over here, general effect, I can come to visual border and then click on. So once it's on, you can see it there. You can also like increase or reduce the dark, the color, so you can like take it lesser, or if you want, you can also make use of shadows. That's what I use sometimes. I think I even prefer the shadows to the borderline. So the shadows here, you can see it looks a bit better. So I think this is good. So you're just going to apply the same thing to all of this. Of course, you don't have to go through all of those steps one by one again. So you can just click on this and then use this format painter. We have this tool in most Microsoft based tools or software. So once in Excel, we have it in Microsoft Word. Once you click on format painter, you can format this, and you can see that it has modified, or it has changed this format, this particular visual to look like this. So talking about the title and the background and everything. And then you can do the same thing for these guys. Just try to do the same thing, and then also for this one. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to leave this average order value somewhere here. And then for these guys, for the line visuals, so line chart, you can click on it. There are quite a number of things you could do here. One of them is the fact that I can take away the title of the x-axis and the title of the y-axis. They are not really doing anything because we already have the title, so we already know that we are looking at orders by total. So we don't need the title for the x-axis as well as the titles for the y-axis. Okay, so these grid lines, we don't really need them, so we can just turn off the grid lines so it looks neat. and then we can like add data labels. So if we add data labels here, this is going to show us how much we have in each of these. And then the moment you add the data labels, it makes, since like you have all of the data labels in all of the points, then this is no longer important, right? It's just taking up space, because I can know for sure this is 5.37, 5.43 and so on without having to look here. So we can take off this y-axis entirely, so it looks like this better. So now we can modify the title and then adjust the same format which we have been doing. So talking about using the text color white, background color black, and then centralized, and then we have something like this. Okay, so we can try to reduce this. Then if you want, you can add markers. Markers are like the point at the data point. So if I click on markers, it's currently off, so once I turn it on, you can see these markers. And then you can also modify these markers, probably changing the color, the size, and so on. So I'll just leave this like this, and then I can, because these two charts are similar, I can copy and then try to format, and you can see it's going to apply the same format which you have here. So, and for this, we can format this as well, the same format. So again, similar. If you want, you can try to like see if it works. For some of them will work. Okay, I think almost all of them worked, right? So talking about removing the x-axis, the y-axis, and then we can see the data points here. So one improvement I think we can do here is to have our data labels inside and not like outside. So it's going to look like this for all of them. The data point will be inside of the column. So we can come over here to data labels, and then position, instead of auto, we can use inside and that way you can have everything to be inside of the bar, and then you can try to increase this to have it like this. So I'm just going to do exactly the same thing for the revenue side, and then I'll pause the video and then you can just come back again to see. Okay, and so we're back. If we go over to revenue now, we can see that we have similar formatting that has been applied to the revenue page or revenue sheet of our report. And now over to the last page, which is the pizza. We're just going to apply the same thing. If you want, you can copy what you have here. This is a faster way of doing it, so I just copy it, I just paste it here, and then I can use this format painter for each of them. You know, makes it really easy to do. So just gonna do for everything, we can see it's all going. So this name, this new name, I was the one who actually added it. So you can do the same, just come over to the general title, and then you can add the name, whatever title you want to give it. Okay, so I'm just going to format this again. This is the most revenue, the pizza with the most revenue, and then I'm going to use it to format this. This is the one that is least ordered. Okay, all right, so I'm just going to take this one off, right? And then this one, I'm going to use a chart as well for this, so I can use like a bar chart, something here. I can use this one. So if I use this one, we can see that these are the top, these are just like all of them together, but it doesn't really make sense here. So better still, what I like to do, or what is advisable to do, is look at top 7, like, you know, top 7, top 10, or top 5, as the case may be. So but first I'm just going to take off this axis, the x and y axis title, because we don't really need them. So once I take that off, I can apply top 7, for instance. So I come over here to the filters, and then under my name I can click on it, right, which is like name of the pizza, and then I can change from basic filter to top hen, so we can apply like top 7 by total revenue, of course, because this is looking at revenue. So once I click on apply, we can see now that these are the top 7 pizzas in terms of revenue. I can see some good lines there, so I think we need to take that off as well. So I'm just going to come over here again and turn off the grid line, so we can have something like this. So the same thing you can copy to this. It's not really doing anything, right? It's not doing anything. I wonder why. So we probably can do that manually by ourselves, you know. So we can add here, we don't have data labels here, so we can come over here, add data labels, and then inside end, you know, I always like it inside end. The same thing can be applied here, data labels can be turned on, and then you use inside the end, and then you take off the X and Y axis title. So I'm just gonna do that here again. So take off this. Okay, and for this you can use the same chart as well. This is by category. If you want, you can do something like this. Still, so I can just click on it manually. Okay, and then I can change that to inside end. If I come over to data labels, turn it on, and then change it to inside end. You also see some grid lines there, so I can turn off the grid lines, and then you would see that we have x-axis title. I'm not sure if we have for y. Okay, we also have for y, but it's not showing because it's not really long. So I can turn off that for x, for y, and then for x is already turned off. So another thing here is if you're using a bar chart like this and you're already using labels, it means most of the time, if you have all your data points being available to be viewed, you don't really need an axis. So here now we have everything 43, 43, 40, 41, and so on. So I think it's okay to take away this x-axis because it's not really doing anything there. So if we take it off, we still can read meaning to what is going on here. And then the same thing for this. I'm just going to turn off x-axis for everything. I'm going to turn off x-axis. The next thing now is for us to create another page. We would create a new page. We would name it dashboard. So this page will be our main page, and then we would have to move or migrate all of these metrics over to that main page. Okay, so how we're going to do it is we will have, so what we're going to do in this dashboard is we will have order on the left hand side and then revenue on the right side. This is not like a rule or requirement, but this is just the way I want to structure. As a matter of fact, to let you know, before I started this whole project, I had like a layout of how I would want my report to look like. Of course, you don't have to necessarily work 100% to it, but you should have an idea of what you would like to create, and then you only know that you can look for other possibilities to improve that method. So I already have it pictured on my head what I would like my dashboard to look like. So I want orders on this left hand side and then revenue on the right hand side. So what I'm going to do basically is I can bring in all of these cards from this place. I can just click everything, hold control and click on all of them, select, and then control C, and then you can come over to dashboard and then control V. It's not working, I don't know, I noticed this recently, but you can use paste. So once you use paste, you have everything here. So I can bring them here, right? They are varying size, I know, no worries, we are going to sort that out soon. And then the same thing I can do for revenue. So I can take the revenue here, and then use control to hold and click, and then control C again, and then you come over here and then control V to paste it. So you have the revenue, you have it here, here, and here. Of course the page is really small. I think this is size 16:9, which is the default size. So I would like us to increase this to height should be around 1005 maybe. Width can be around 1300 or even 15. I think we are really going to do a lot of stuff, so let's make it that. You can also reduce anytime anyways. So now I can reposition these guys. Like I said, they are really too big, so I think I need to reduce the size. So let's start with this one. Total order, I think the size should be 20, should be enough, because this is, I'm currently on a big screen and it's still looking big, so I don't think it will look so small when you get to a real case. So this is the total order, and then I can format this painter, format this orders per quarter. If you want, you can remove decimal place. I mean, it's something that if you need space, you need to take care of. So we have just this value, and then this one as well. Once you click on it and you click on this, it will format. The same thing, click on this, it will format. Okay, and then we do the same thing for revenue, total revenue. So you can just copy this one, format this, then format. This format tool has really come in handy for me. A lot of times I use it. So there you go. So you can reduce this size now. Reduce the size. You can reduce this side as well. Can reduce this side. So once that is done, you would realize that it might be difficult to really find out what is the size. I mean, is it the same? It's not. So one thing I do is you can click on one, and then you can come over to format your visual, general, and then you can come over to properties. So here in properties, you can find information about this card, talking about the width as well as the height. So I can stick my width to be 145, for instance, and then my height should be like 40. Okay, I think that's way too small, so this is 80. You know, this looks perfect. So you can try to copy it on every other thing to see if there will be no issue. So I will just use 60 by 154. Okay, so now I can use the same for everything. So 60 by 154. Then you can be rest assured that they are all going to be the same size. So 60 by 154. I'm just going to do this for everything. I will come back once I'm done with that in the video. So after doing that, they are all of the same width and height now. I can try to rearrange. On paper, since I have this one to be 1.5, you can try to calculate when the width is 154 like we had, you know. So we have 8 visuals here, so that will be 154 times 8, and then you can look for what is left, and then you can subtract it from 1.5 to know the spacing on both ends. So I'm not going to do that calculation here, but I'm just letting you know this can be well planned, more planned than you think. So I can just use my digression to bring up something here. So let's assume this is just what we have, right? So and I'm assuming like this is the half point, like this is halfway through. There's no way to figure that out except you do that, which I mentioned earlier. So I'm not going to do it, so I can just assume that this is the middle. So what I really want to show you here is, let's assume you have all of these things scattered like this. Instead of having to drag them one by one, you can actually select everything, right? And then come over to the format and then use the align tool. So if I align this to the top for now, you can see that all of them, they will share the same distance from the top, right? You can see that the distance here is a bit smaller than what we have here, and same thing as here. So you can use align and then distribute horizontally such that the distance between them will be the same. So I'm just going to do that for these guys here as well. We can see, okay, let's assume I want the last one to be here, somewhere here. This is the distance, so I can click on this, click on this, click on this, and then format. I try to align at the top first, everything looks perfect, and then align, distribute horizontally. So you can see a shift in the distance between them. So the last thing we're gonna do now is to bring in the pizzas. If we come over to the pizzas table, we can see that we already created these guys. So I'm just gonna bring these guys over, transfer them also to the dashboard page. So I'm just going to copy that, and then I can paste with Ctrl V. Okay, it worked this time. Okay, so then I can just, well, I have, like I said, I have like a structure of how I want this to look like. So that's why I'm kind of like working towards it. These are some of the things that you need to do. You don't just like design. Well, you can do it anyway, but in order to get it all ordered, I think it's best you kind of have a structure on your head, and then you can try to like see how you can lay out this guy. So I'm going to apply the same format here, talking about the width and the height. I'm going to apply it here, and then in the next video we are going to go further from what we have here. So I hope you enjoyed this session, and see you next time.